Hi, I'm Dan Andrews, the Premier of Victoria and Leader of the Labor Party. This is our first Periscope press conference. It's a press conference without any journalists, so you can see why we might do a lot of these in coming weeks and months. No, it's always good to talk to journalists, but it's even better sometimes to talk to Victorians about obviously the budget, but also their take on things, and there's lots of questions already come through. Just a bit of housekeeping, can I ask people to tweet to hashtag Ask the Premier, and there'll be from time to time some things that I perhaps can't give you all the detail to take too long to do it, but if you go to premier.vic.gov.au, you'll be able to follow the links to the budget this year and be able to look at all the different information that's there about the investments we're making. Now, I don't want to talk for too long on any one particular subject. We want to keep this moving as fast as we can. I'm told this is something that is a first for certainly Victorian politics and maybe more broadly. I hope to be able to do this on a fairly regular basis. It's great to be able to answer real questions from real people and get outside the kind of Spring Street bubble that we're all too often caught up in. Just quickly, this is a budget that delivers sound financial management, and that's really important. If you don't manage your state's finances well, you don't have the money to be able to invest in the things that really matter. So there's a surplus this year and each year over the next 4, and then there's some investments that I'm very, very proud of. In fact, all of my team are really proud to have made decisions like almost $4 billion for our schools, our kinders and TAFE, a big boost to health, really significant boosts in public transport. In fact, the biggest investment in public transport we've ever seen. And then lots of other commitments, and not just in Melbourne, right across Victoria. We'll probably cover a little bit of that ground as people send in their Twitter questions. Let's get started. That's probably the best thing to do. So the first question comes from Jenny Ashby, and she asks, when will our 196 students know if we're getting a new school at Epsom Primary? Now, for those of you who aren't from Epsom, Epsom's a suburb of Bendigo, basically a township just on the edge of Bendigo, and it's part of a really big growth corridor at the moment. We were up, myself and Jacinta Allen, who's the local member, and other members of the team, we were up there last year making commitments to Epsom Primary School. It's great teachers, great kids, great parent community, but the school's a bit run down. In fact, it's worse than that. It needs to be replaced. We're committed to do that, and I'm really pleased to tell Jenny Ashby, who must be one of the parents from Epsom, or at least she's got a close connection to the school, that the full more than $5 million, I think $5.6 million, was in today's budget, and we'll be able to begin now the planning process so the construction can begin as soon as possible and we can get those kids a brand new school for a brand new start. I think that's really important. Hopefully there'll be lots of questions about schools and education, kinders and TAFE throughout this evening, because education really is a significant part of this budget. As I said before, nearly $4 billion. Jenny, if you want any further information, you can certainly visit premier.vic.gov.au and there'll be some more details, but this is more than $5 million for Epsom Primary delivered in full in the budget today. Next one, we've got Amy Feltman. Amy Feltman asked me, as you can see, the budget is titled For Families. Amy has asked me, she's keen to know if singles, double income, no kids, or the elderly are of any interest to the For Families government. I don't know, Amy, I'm a bit more positive on these things than it seems you are. Families, that's basically all of us. We're all part of a family. We're all brothers and sisters. We're all sons, daughters, partners. Some of us are single and we're parents. Some of us are married. We're all part of a family. In fact, the Victorian community is in many respects a family. This is a budget that invests for everybody. And let me just go through schools, hospitals, a safer community, taking real action on family violence, investing in better public transport, investing in better roads. I think they're relevant to every single Victorian. I think that's the definition of fairness, and families are better off because of it. But Amy, I don't know, I've got a different view of these things, I suppose, but thanks very much for your tweet. Moving on now to TAFE. David tweets, how many years will it take the government to repair the damage to TAFE inflicted by the Liberals? I want to thank David for his question, and I would remind him to renew his ALP membership very, very soon. David's obviously a pretty strong supporter. Look, I think it'll take some time. It was really significant damage, but I'm very proud to have made a promise before the election to spend more money in TAFE, to stop the cuts, and to stop the real, TAFE was in a terrible mess. It's not fixed yet, but we've kind of stabilised these things a little bit. There's more than $300 million, indeed $350 million in the budget delivered today. Steve Herbert's doing a fantastic job in this area. He's visited every TAFE institute across the state. This money will be shared throughout Victoria. And I just think that's fair. I think that's what a good government does. Don't cut TAFE and make it harder for particularly young people, particularly those in the outer suburbs and in regional Victoria, to get the skills that they need for the job that they want. It's a simple thing, but if you don't invest in vocational education and training, then you compromise people's future. And every Victorian that's held back, well, that holds us all back. So big investment today. There'll be more next year and the year after that and the year after that, because we value TAFE and we know how important it is. How long it'll take to repair the damage, I suppose I'm a bit more positive than that, David. Let's not think about it in terms of damage. Let's make TAFE better than it's ever been. And today we took a very big step towards that. Next, Mario Grande. This is charming. Why would you invest in Mernda? There's a bit more, but it's lots of four-letter. I won't go into that. Look, we made a commitment about Mernda Rail. We took the line to South Morang, and we will take it to Mernda. This is a significant investment. It's one of the biggest suburban rail upgrades that the state's ever seen. You've got to get the planning right. We've made that decision today, $9 million in additional money to plan out the Mernda Rail link. And what's more, from a Mernda point of view, I visit there quite often, and it's a great local community, but it can be better through more schools, and we're delivering those. Better public transport, better roads, we're delivering those also. And of course, taking the pressure off health services in our growing corridors, our growth corridors, is very important as well. You're not a big Mernda fan, but this government certainly is, and Danielle Green, as our local member, is not only a great champion for her electorate, but she lives there, she's passionate, and she makes sure I understand just how important things are for Mernda and for that whole growing north. Moving on, Will Ross. Will Ross asks, what will your new LGBTI commissioners say regarding the budget's $0 for expanding overwhelmed gender dysphoria services at the Royal Children's Hospital in Melbourne? Well, I don't think, Will, that'll be a matter that the LGBTI Commissioner will need to turn their mind to, because there is more money for these gender dysphoria services at the Royal Children's Hospital. I have had the great pleasure of being very closely connected with the new Royal Children's Hospital for many years now. They do great work. Not only will this service, this important clinic, which is a statewide service, be, as I understand it, the recipient of additional funds, but what's more, the Royal Children's Hospital will have a much stronger budget, because you can have the best building, you can have the best staff, and they are amazing staff at the Royal Children's Hospital. I know that as a politician, and I know it as a parent too, but unless they've got a strong budget, they just can't do the work that they're trained to do. So there is extra money there for that service and for the Royal Children's Hospital more broadly, and I hope that's a comfort to you and to everybody who's a parent across our state. Next, I've got one here from... So Tony Morton has asked me, does the new 6-lane Chandler Highway Bridge include full-time segregated bus lanes? I'm not sure about that, Tony. I think that part of today's decision is that more than $100 million to get this project away is to do the detailed planning, to do the design, to talk to the local community. I think it's probably going to finish up being a brand new bridge built quite close to the current one, and the current one then can be used for all sorts of other things. Whether it be bicycles, pedestrians, as I've seen some ideas about perhaps a kind of a public open space for markets and things. There's lots of different things you can do there. Most important thing to acknowledge is we're getting on with it. I'm sure that Fiona Richardson will make sure we deliver a good outcome. She's been a passionate advocate on this issue. The money's there in this year's budget. Planning, consultation, listening to the local community will be a really important part of it. Now, I've got one here from Caroline Fields, who asks me, do you think the Real Housewives of Melbourne is a good or a bad thing for the image of Melbourne? I've not watched the show, so I don't know whether it is or it isn't. I might leave others who are more expert, yourself included, Carolyn, to make that judgment. What I would say, the image of our state's really important, and the way we project to our region, to other parts of Australia and to the world it's very important, because it's ultimately about whether people are in work. The visitor economy is really important, really important. There's tourism and major events and all of that sector, if you like. That's $20 billion a year and 200,000 Victorians whose livelihoods depend on it. This budget, $200 million for a brand new additional convention centre space so we can get all the big conferences to come to our city. Those delegates can spend their money, full hotels, full bars, full restaurants. That's a really important thing. And then there's $80 million so we can have a new and improved series of major events, lots of one-off events, whether it's college football, baseball, basketball, all of those sorts of things, and a really strong offering down at the National Gallery. Our image is important, and I think that today's budget, just from a tourism and major events point of view, has really delivered significantly to that. That has nothing to do with the Real Housewives of Melbourne, and I'm sorry, I can't do any better than that. And I think we might be getting close to time. I've got one here from James. Which of your many infrastructure projects will be started during this term? Not planned, but actually started. James, it's probably best if we get you a full list, but some projects, we make no apology, they're going to take more than 4 years to do. Melbourne Metro will not be delivered in four years. 9 kilometres of track, extras to 5 new underground stations, a public transport system where you can turn up and you don't need a timetable. You can just get the next train and go. That's not a 4-year project. That's going to take much longer than that. But $1.5 billion in this year's budget. We will have delivered at least 20 of those level crossings. They'll be gone. We hope to do better if we can, but 20 is the promise that we made over 4 years. And then there's a whole range of hospitals and schools and all sorts of other investments that will start from this budget and will be finished by the end of 2018. A list, we probably can give you a list at some point. If you go to, if you tweet me your details and we can maybe send you something via email, or you too can go to premier.vic.gov.au and follow the budget links. If you send us your details, maybe it's better if I write to you with some of those answers. Now, I've got, I think, time for one more. Yes, I have got time for one more. Nick Wishart. How many goals will Archie Thompson score this Friday night in the Melbourne Derby A-League final? I don't know how many he'll score. Let's hope he scores 3. But this is going to be fantastic. I caught up with some of the guys from Melbourne Victory just last week, and I was with Melbourne City a few weeks before that. We can be really, really proud that the World Game is so popular. The beautiful game is such a big part of our sporting culture. And I know my youngest son, Joseph, who loves soccer. He started off playing Auskick, now he does soccer. You can see just how important it is in his little life. And I know families right across the suburbs and regional Victoria are touched by it. And we've got such an elite offering, the best stadiums, the best teams. It's a great game. And just a final plug on football. The World Game, football, the International Champions Cup starting in the middle of the year. This is going to be fantastic. Manchester City, Real Madrid and AS Roma. This is going to be blockbuster football, the best of the beautiful game in the world's most livable city and sporting capital. Nick, I hope you're there. I really very much do. So I think this has been our first, I assume won't be our last Periscope press conference, a press conference with no journalists. That's a good thing. I'm sure I've done my best Ron Burgundy impersonation possible. It's great to interact with people, real people asking real questions about the budget and what it means for them. Thanks for your feedback. Thanks for being part of this, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.